Atlan Web Radio presents Cosmic Revelation, Pages of an Ancient Past, presented by Rodrigo Freitas and Val Ellam.
Hello, I am Rodrigo Freitas, and here with me is Val Ellam. How are you doing, Val Ellam?
Fine.
So now we are going to talk about what we have discussed in our last two programs. This is the third program called Cosmic Revelation. And if I remember correctly, in the first program we were talking about how did the universe start. Is that right?
Yeah. And I think it's a very good idea to repeat a kind of abstract of our last two programs. Yeah.
Okay. So in the first one, we were talking about the beginning of the universe. You mentioned that there was already life before the singularity in a spiritual dimension, and you also mentioned that this universe that was originated with this singularity is not the only universe that exists. There are more universes, and some of them don't have the same problems that we have here. Some of them are perfect, if we may call it like that. They had a start, but they will last forever, and our universe is not going to last forever, right? So we were talking about problems regarding the creation of this universe, and you mentioned that in this universe there was an antimaterial dimension and our dimension, and that the creator was sucked into this creation as a black hole that sucks all kinds of information that passes in a certain ratio. This creation sucked in the creator, and it has been living in this antimateria dimension since the beginning of the universe. And from this dimension he started to create some beings that you call them cloned angels, right?
Right.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
And then after a certain time, these cloned angels had some problems, and also problems with the creator, and we are going to explore more of these in the next episodes. But just to sum her up, then because of these problems there was a punishment for the cloned angels, and that was the thing that generated another kind of beings in the universe that called the so-called demons, right? You also explained that the concept of demons is twisted nowadays because of the Christians and what the church did. But in the past there were good demons and bad demons, good cloned angels, bad cloned angels,
Good gods, bad gods.
good gods, bad gods, right? Nowadays we only think about demons as being the worst kind of being that exists, but this is just a misunderstanding of the expression demon, right?
Yeah.
And then in the second episode, if I remember correctly, we were talking about the problems of this antimaterial dimension that exists in this universe, although we don't know it for sure. But you said that the beings that exist in this other dimension, they have problems. Their mind works as a black hole. They suck in all kinds of information, and the time there is shrinking down. It's not like in this side of the universe where the time just goes on and on and on forever, right?
Yeah.
So I think that we must, in this episode here, go a little deep in these questions, in these matters, and then we can perhaps start by asking who is the creator? Is he God? You mentioned in the first episode that God is a different thing, right? We confuse God with the creator because the creator in the Bible shows himself as the most powerful God and the creator of everything. So let's try to diminish this confusion, starting to talk about Jehovah or the creator, right? In your opinion, how can we define the creator?
It's a very, very difficult question, but we have to try to do it. We have to find a definition that permits our thoughts go on in searching for more comprehension. But before this creation, this entity that we call Jehovah, this entity that nowadays is known by Jehovah as the biblical God, as Allah in the Islamic pages, as chaos in the Greek mythology. Before he created these two universes that you mentioned before, the name of this entity was called Prabrajna. Prabrajna is a name that isn't written in any page of any mythology. In the Hindu mythology, they call Prajapati as the entity that existed before the creation. But Prajapati is not a simple name, as my name is Rogério or yours is Rodrigo. Prajapati is a kind of title. It's a kind of,
Like doctor.
yeah, an expression that gives us an quality or function. And what is the main problem that we have today to talk about Prajapati or Prabhajana or Prabrajana? I have listened in when I'm talking to friends that do not belong to Earth, Prabhajana, Prabrajana, so we have these two situations. But before the creation, this entity that I call Prabrajana, as Prabrajana, he was not living as a spiritual being as we may think when we are using the human understanding about it. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, when the Lord Krishna is talking to Arjuna, Krishna reveals himself as if he was this God before the creation that created everything. So Krishna says that he is the one now and before the creation. In this book, as we can find in other books, a terminology, a difficult terminology in Sanskrit language is shown, and we can find the following definitions. The expression adiagya would mean a free spiritual, a high kind of spiritual that lives in a high situation. If you ask me, was there in this situation that Prabrajana created? I'll have to say no. Because for an entity may create an universe or a dimensional line, he has to come down, he has to come to live in another part that we still may call spirituality. But now, in this dimension, he has to exist in his expression called Adhyatman form. So we have the Adhyasya form, spiritual,
High-end spiritual.
yeah. But when he comes down, he becomes an Adhyatman entity, and this is the one that I call Prabrajana.
Okay.
This is the one that Hindu mythology call Prajapati. When this entity called Prabrajana created the singularity that began to create two universes, parallel universe,
The
parallel
antimaterial
universes,
and
the
ours.
antimaterial one and ours. He fall down in the antimaterial side, and he had at that time, and we were talking about 13 billion years, almost 14 billion years ago, and he had to assume another form to survive. And this another form, in the Bhagavad Gita and in the other books that we may find in the Hindu mythology, is called Adidaiva form, Adidaiva expression. So we have until now Adhyasya expression, Adhyatman expression, Adidaiva expression, or Adhyasya form, Adhyatman form, Adidaiva form. What is the problem? Many problems we have, but the main problem is that this kind of form that the fallen God created for himself is completely dependent of everything he finds in his administration of his own life. The same way we, in our case of human beings, our animal bodies, everything we eat becomes part of what we are at that time. And there is not biological life in that time in the antimaterial universe. But everything that fallen God found becomes part of himself.
So let me interrupt you
Yeah,
just to try to see if I understood.
yeah,
Okay. You mentioned that this creator, his spirit, has some kinds of expressions that I don't remember the words, but there's a high expression, there is
Adyaja
a
form.
Diaja form, then there's a second expression, which
Adhyatman.
Adhyatman, and using this expression is more or less how he could create the universe. And then after he was sucked into the universe,
Yeah,
he assumed, his spirit assumed a third form of expression, and he had to rebuild himself, but he did it in a way that he was depending on everything else that was
around him.
around him,
Yeah,
right?
around his mind, his portion of body-mind.
Okay.
Okay, so this form we call Adidaiva form. That is a kind of demon because
Is it a
because
good demon or a bad demon?
there is no sense of good or bad at that time.
Okay.
But this kind of being, he changes all the time. I have my face, you have yours. Any human has his face, but demon has no face. Demon changes his form all the time, not because he wants, but because it's nature.
Okay. So that's the concept of demon.
Yeah. In the mythology, the demons, the humans understood that as the demons did changed their forms all the time, for the understanding of human being, it looked like a power, but it was only sickness.
Okay.
So this kind of sickness had begun with the first Adidaiva form that we call Brahma,
Or Jehovah.
or Jehovah, or Allah, or Chaos in the mythology, in the Greek mythology. So this name is used in our common culture on earth. These names
And many more.
and
probably.
many more, well, I know more than 15, or if I'm not wrong, 16, 17 names of Brahma in the cultures on earth. We have more or less 52 mythologies in our culture, in our human culture. in each mythology, this fallen god has a name.
Okay.
So, Brahma, Jehovah, Allah, Chaos is exactly this kind of form, Adidaiva form. And the Adidaiva form of Brahma changed many times and changed more and more when he started to see part of his body that his mind cannot control. He tried to make everything him,
Uh-huh.
but part of his body began to fly, began to, and he fell as it was him.
It's hard
It's very
to
hard
picture.
to
Yeah.
yeah, as it was lost his body in many many parts,
Yes.
as if as it was dividing his body in
Several different
Yeah.
small portions.
and 1 year, 10,000 years, 1 million years later, he began to accept that situation. And so, when he relaxed,
Yeah.
but we have to put
Quotes.
quotes,
Yeah.
when he accepted that fact, the second step of his tired mind was to think that he created what we call cloned angels, because even separated, even in some distance from him, that part of his body obeyed
Yes.
his wants, his
His
orders,
commands.
his commands. So, what we call today, 13 billion years after that, cloned angels began exactly like that.
Without any intention to do like that.
Yeah,
It was just a consequence of how things were happening, and if I understood correctly, his mind was unique, but his body was multi. I don't even know how to.
faced.
Yeah, multi-faced.
Yeah,
He had many faces, and
yeah,
his body was falling apart. So he did not have a body structure like we think, because we do have one, so we think everybody else has one.
yeah,
But no, the situation was completely different,
Yeah.
and the cloned angels were members or portions of his body that he could control with his mind. So he thought it was. Actually, when I read your book called Divine Favor,
yeah,
in Portuguese, of course, but when I read it, I remember that you said something like this: Jehovah, up to today, he sees everybody as an extension of himself.
because of that.
Is due to this aspect.
Yeah, it's due
Up,
to this.
up to today, he does not see uh, us or any other being in the universe as a particular life. It's just an extension of his own body, right?
This is why he lost his faith in Adam and Eve, because that couple goes out of his control.
Yeah, like the Bible says, they eat the forbidden fruit, and they 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 make Jehovah really mad, right? That's a long story.
It's a long story.
Yeah.
But coming back to
Okay.
these
Cloned angels.
cloned angel days, about 500 million years later, a very special Adiagia form, another one, came into the universe, antimaterial universe, and began to be one of these cloned
Angels.
angels
How many cloned angels existed?
today.
No, not today. At that time.
It looks like today. It's
Small.
almost the same quantity.
Okay.
It's about 900 millions of beings.
Yeah, it's a lot of beings.
But just a little of them died until today.
Okay.
In this 13 billion years, just a little of them,
Just a few of them.
just a few of them
died.
So, in the problem between the God, the fallen God that we call Brahma, with this cloned angel that we mentioned before, so when Brahma punished this cloned angel because he make Brahma stop to create more cloned angels. So here began another kind of being in the antimaterial universe that we may call demon, because cloned angels, they do not have had any kind of freedom, mind freedom. But the demons, as they lost their body of cloned angel, as they had, so they lost their body, but they won their mind freedom with the power that they can get from that cloned angel bodies. So the demons began to exist, and the figures, the personal beings, the personalities, very special in the Trimurti that we call Vishnu and Shiva, they were two cloned angels or two demons that began to divide with Brahma the power of the control of the universe. So, in this history we're trying to tell, we have now in their Adivaiva forms Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and there was created a Trimurti that was a kind of form that governs the universe. But just to finish, when Prabrajana followed in his creation, he lost his soul.
Yeah.
He lost his soul. Because of that, Prabrajana became Brahma, and Brahma never went out his Brahmaloka.
Brahmaloka is his house in this other dimension.
Yeah. But Vishnu and Shiva, they still live as Adivaiva forms, but they created another form of expression themselves. We can call Adhyajna forms. And the names that we know as Krishna, Jesus, Sophia, Sai Baba, or Adhyajna forms from
Vishnu and Shiva.
Vishnu and Shiva. So, I think it's enough for for this program.
Let's talk about this in the next one.
Yeah. Let's
Let's start the next one discussing more of how did Vishnu and Shiva enter in the universe as cloned angels, as you mentioned. Maybe it was not
clone angels and demon.
And later on
because
demons,
Shiva came as clone angel, but Vishnu, it
was a little different.
It was a little different.
Let's try to talk about this in the next episode. I hope our listeners understand and are enjoying what we are trying to.
I have to apologize for my English, but with your help,
no, we both have, but
express something.
But I think that it's okay. People can understand.
I hope so.
Okay, so I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot and bye bye.
Bye bye.
You listened to Cosmic Revelation, Pages of an Ancient Past, presented by Rodrigo Freitas and Val Ellam.